I'm going to show you a picture here. This picture is a book that I bought for my sons when they were younger. It's called the Marvel Encyclopedia of Heroes. When you think about Marvel comics, I'm not a big comic person, but I know that there's the Avengers, I know that there's Spider-Man, I know that there's the Hulk, I know there's X-Men. In that encyclopedia, there is over 1,200 heroes. 1,200 heroes in that book that I never knew of. The Pilates community is the exact same as the Marvel book of heroes. You know 5 or 6 names, you think that those people are the only people who are trying to save the world, when the reality is there's an encyclopedia of heroes that are out there, and that is exactly what we're doing on this show, is bringing to the highlight, bring to the spotlight other people in that encyclopedia. So with that being said, my man Kevin is from Pilates Dwell in Michigan, and he is a dynamic, energetic, full of life person who loves movement, loves Pilates, loves helping people. He does some great things in his community, and like many people was really slapped with this pandemic in terms of what that did to his business. He's bouncing back and he has a great story. So without further ado, I'm gonna bring Kevin on right now.
What's going on, my man?
What's going on, man?
How are you?
Man, it's so good. It's so good to see you.
If I can reach through this phone, brother, you know I'm a hugger. I'd give you the big hug right now, man. I think the last time we saw your face was 7 months ago, and then our world flipped itself upside down, and then all of a sudden you lose touch with everybody. And anyways, man, I'm proud of you. I just want you to know that right away. Anybody who's listening, I am so proud of this brother right here, man. I tell you what, it's so funny because in a worldwide pandemic, while everything is going upside down and everybody just has social media, all I see is your face all over the place, hobnobbing or brushing elbows with the leader industries. And I go, oh my gosh, that face looks like mine, and he came to help. Oh gosh, I'm good now. I've seen it all. And anyways, I'm proud of you, brother. I just want you to know that. So yeah.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
How you been, man? You been okay?
Yeah, I've been good. It has been tough, you know. I didn't realize that when you're just trying to do something to help people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I understand.
When you're just trying to just like be a voice in the way that you can, that people don't always think the best of you first.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And as much as people prepare you to be in the light, and by no means do I feel like I am in the spotlight in any way, there's words that come at you that you have to fight off like a shield. You wear it. And then there's words that come like what you just said a minute ago.
Hey, I'm in everywhere, brother. Listen, I know we don't want to open up. You about to get me all crying and stuff, and I look ugly when I cry. So hey,
yeah.
Let me put my glasses on, and hey, all right.
Bring it back. All right.
But you know, like I said, the sentiment is the same, man. I have much affinity for you, and then of course we'll talk about SONJA. He burned here a little bit, and Ed Duffy, but what you mean to me, man, and what people are saying. This is just amazing. This is an awesome forum, and it gives us a voice to be able to speak in to how we see the world today as Black men, as Black people. So.
Right. No, it's true. And, you know, just as I was kind of reflecting on this a minute ago, like that, it just hit me that Marvel, you know, encyclopedia analogy just jumped out at me, because it wasn't until I bought the book for my kids that I realized that there are hundreds of superheroes out there.
Right.
Hundreds.
Right. Absolutely.
And my kids know all of these superheroes. I can name 5. They can name 605. You know what I'm saying? And that's what our Pilates community is like. Like, there are heroes. Like, remember, I don't know about you, but man, like as a kid, when I saw like Wonder Woman and Superman and stuff, and then I came across like the Bronze Tiger. I was like, what? Yep. There's a black man who's a superhero?
Yeah.
And then you hung on to that one black man who's a superhero. Or you saw like all these different people, and you realize that, wait, there's superheroes that I identify with. What's that superhero about?
Right. And I guess, you know, just when you opened up with that line right away, it just hit my mind that, you know, I saw Brett Howard on your podcast for a little bit. And then of course, you know, I met Chris Howard, and both of them, I took workshops, you know, and then, I mean, I hear Claude Nelson. Yes. But at the same time, then all of a sudden, like it says, I see your face up there. At this point, I'm like, this is the Black Mount Rushmore of Pilates. These are the superheroes, and we need to see this, you know. And I go, okay, I better do my part, put my cape back on. I mean, all the things that happened, you know, with the pandemic and stuff. Yes. But you know, I can only sit back and, you know, have my little pity party for so long. But I need to get up there too, because people are looking for some inspiration and heroes too for me as well. So, but yeah, absolutely, man. I love that about the Marvel comics. Yes. So
it's true, man. Yeah. So for those who don't know who the superhero is, Kevin, please just share your name, your business, and what you do, man.
Yeah. My name is Kevin Lartigue. I also go by the nickname of Teak. So there's two of me, tell you. And most people don't know this, but I used to work in football. And I worked in college at Michigan State University, and I was in the NFL for the 49ers and the Detroit Lions. But through football is where I got the nickname, but it's also through football where I discovered Pilates. But I am the owner of Pilates Dwell here at Okemos, Michigan. And my brother, a dear sister of mine, came out and helped me start that. But in short, I discovered Pilates through a back issue. When I was working my last year with the Detroit Lions under Steve Mariucci's coaching staff, I basically left a meeting and said, I'm going to the weight room to find a foam roller. So I go down, and there's a gentleman in there that I had never seen before. And he says, what are you looking for? I says, well, I'm looking for a foam roller to stretch out my back. You got anything? And he was like, well, I got something else. Why don't you come over here and try this? And I looked, and it was what we call a Pilates ladder barrel. So I says, well, what's that going to do for me? He's like, well, let's just do a basic backward stretch and see what happens. So I lay back over it, man. And all of a sudden, my back just opened up, and it was like, hallelujah. And I was like, oh, my gosh, what is this? And so he basically told me my phrase that I first learned about Pilates. He says, Pilates basically is exercises, control exercises designed to stretch, strengthen, and lengthen your core and a whole lot more. And I was like, wow. So I said, well, get my lawyer on the phone. I want 10% every time somebody says that. But at the same time, I says, well, what's the whole lot more? And then, of course, he's a clown like me. He goes, hit the floor. And so he started showing me this mat work, and it was amazing. And I only had like 2 sessions, but I was so in love with it at that point. I think at that point, I think we had probably a month, and then we ended up, we got fired at that point, and we moved on. And it wasn't until years later, about 3-4 years later, I started working at Lifetime Fitness as a personal trainer. And the same thing happened. I went into the Pilates studio, and I saw that ladder barrel. And I laid back over it again, having opened up again, and then lo and behold, Martin, that same weekend, man, they had a weekend workshop. So they said, if you wanted to be a Pilates instructor, you could do that. So, of course, back then, they called it level 1, level 2, level 3. So I took it, man, I got through it. And then lo and behold, like what's everything I think in my whole life is this trajectory. I get started with something, and then boom, life happens. I got the certification and really couldn't apply it. And so then, in short, it wasn't until another 2 years later, I was back at Lifetime Fitness, and I met a woman named SONJA Mayo. And a lot of people in the industry know her as an industry leader. Yes. But when I met her, man, it was like she opened up the whole method, because she had actually been in the presence of Joseph Pilates. And my respect went up for her, because she taught just like a coach. And I'm from a coaching background. That's why I like working with athletes. And right away, her very first lesson, and I'll give you back this, but when she tells me, we all walk in, it's like 12 of us. By the end of this thing, there's probably only 6 of us left. But she's the very first lesson. She said, look, when I say 6 o'clock, that means 5:55. You need to show up 5 minutes before the hour. If you don't, you're late. And let me tell you, the very next day, somebody tried her. We get there, 6 o'clock comes, she locks the door, she gets up, and she's going off in attendance, and the person, you hear this door going, blah, 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 blah. She goes over, she goes, you're late. And then, of course, just like young athletes and people right now who are not really listening, right? They want to argue back. And you're like, no, listen, I'm trying to give you a message that right now teach you something that you're not ready for. But I'm going to teach you right now. Right then, I've learned to respect her. She was amazing, man. Anyways, I learned Pilates through her. I flew out to Nashville and got all that. Then, of course, years later, I opened up my own studio. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, what made you decide to open up your own studio? It's one thing to work for, the industry, work for big boxes and stuff like that. What made you decide to make the plunge and jump in to owning?
Right. Well, I actually, my last year, I was, like I said, in Lifetime Fitness through Peak Pilates.
Mm-hmm.
They don't just have like, just one big thing where you go out and you work under the tutelage of somebody. It's in modules. So my third module, I flew out to Nashville with SONJA. And while I was doing that, I had said, well, I'm going to go ahead and start a studio out of my apartment in Canton, Michigan. And a lot of people who have forgotten, but I had a Instagram where I used to wear this fedora, right? And and that was my calling card. It was like Papa, wherever Papa laid his hat was his home. And so, but anyways, I decided to do that then because all of the life experiences I had ever had, I had been equipment manager in the NFL in college. I was a massage therapist at the time. And now a personal trainer, and I wanted to put it all together. And so that was at that point in my life, I'm like, well, this is the perfect thing to do. But unfortunately, I didn't have the resources. So I said, well, just take what you got, start out your house. And that's how Pilates Dwell. People want to know how I came up with the name Dwell. Mm-hmm. Well, I was out of my dwelling place. So that became that. And then at the same time, I had this slogan that, your body's a temple. You don't take care of your body, right? You dwell 24/7 in your body. So I said, well, that's a good slogan too. Be at home in your own body and let Pilates help you design or clean up your house. And so, but anyways, that I wanted to put it all together. I was also a mentor. I'm a mentor. So I used that opportunity to, those who were in my life would come to the studio, get to learn about not only just Pilates, but I was massage, personal training, but also to hear how as a man, how to make it in the world. I've had a lot of mentors who have basically, they grounded me and made me who I am today. And that I take from them. And so anyways, in a nutshell, Pilates Dwell ended 2 years after I started. I came home to take care of my folks, and then I ended up back in East Lansing. And at that time, I was working at a local club in their Pilates studio and teaching group mat classes. And at that point, things opened up, doors opened up, and I had an opportunity to go into a back corner of Okemos. And I had all this equipment in my house. I was so tired of living with Joseph Pilates. I'm like, bruh, you got to go.
Got to go.
He's got to go. So anyways, I took all that and put it in there. I mean, it's a long thing about how I got to all of this or whatever. Right. But, you came in at that point. That's when you came into my life. So.
Well, yeah, and that's a real fun story of how that came to be. And we were at a workshop at Cheryl's at Pilates Method, and I think that's when we first met. And guys, as you can see already, Kevin's got such a big, energetic smile, and we just connected there. And then we stayed in touch and just followed each other along. And when he decided to finally take that plunge and open up his space, I was like, I got to be there. I'd love to just support that. Let's make a grand opening. Let's just come and just cheer on, a brother just doing his thing. I really feel that celebrating Black men in the marketplace is important. And it was just important to be there. I just felt like, hey, this is a 3-hour drive for me from Toronto to come up. And as soon as I said that, Sonja's like, I'll come, I'll be there. And then Ed Duffy, who started his Pilates studio in Florida, was just like, I'll be there. So we're converging on, this Pilates studio in Michigan just to cheer on a brother opening up his doors, man. And that's how we connected.
Yeah, it's amazing too, because we had never met outside of connecting through Instagram like most people do. You might follow a person here or there and stuff. But I for those who listen, I felt completely honored that here's the guy that I'm just getting to know. I just met on Instagram. And then SONJA Hebert and then Ed Duffy would call and say that they want to come out and help me start my studio or introduce my studio to my community. And I was so touched. I had never seen that. But up to that point, what I'm getting at is I had never seen any other Black Pilates instructors. I'm like, well, like I said, I've seen Brett Howard. He's an industry leader, and Chris Robinson. But up until then, I didn't even know. I thought I was the blazer, that I was the only one in there teaching Pilates. And next thing you know, after that, oh, you remember that weekend, we ended up meeting Nikki Taylor came up, and I was like, this is amazing. And of course, you know, from there, we've just had conversation after conversation. And I've now seen, like, with this whole thing that's going on in our world today, that there are thousands of other minority Black people that look like me and teach Pilates. And you never would have known that and stuff until somebody like you and Sonja decide that, you know, like family does. We're going to come out and we're going to help you get whatever you need. I remember you said that, and, you know, and I was so happy. As a matter of fact, you know, I'm a crier. That's what I says. I don't need to cry, man. It'll show up like Michael Jordan on Instagram. It'll be like that, that crying face.
Yeah. We got memes for weeks. Yeah.
So, but yeah. So, but yeah.
That's, you know, and I think, you know, in starting your business, I was also thinking, did you have to think about what that meant for you as a Black man starting a business? Not just to jump out into starting a business, but jumping out as a Black man starting a business. Were there other considerations that you had to have in your mind as you're opening your doors?
Right. Well, a lot of it, because I had already took a plunge, I guess, you know, in my 1-bedroom apartment, I had learned a lot of things from that, things what not to do. As a matter of fact, one thing that I would never do is start a Pilates studio out of my apartment. Again, as a Black man and single too, having an image that people would be like, what are you doing? What kind of business is this? You know? I mean, I got a funny story to tell you, man. I mean, I don't get off topic, but
now go.
So the first time as a massage therapist, I get that certification along with my Pilates full certification, and we're sitting in there, and one of my clients comes over from Lifetime Fitness, and so she walks in the door, and I had just bought a reformer, and she looks over at the reformer and she goes, "What's this? What's up?" And I said, "What do you mean, what's this?" She was like, "What's up with these chains, bars, and springs?" This ain't that kind of massage. And I started laughing, and I said, "Oh my gosh, these messages that I'm sending, it's funny, but yet at the same time, I'm like, oh my gosh, no. The massage table is over here, right?" And
it's
so,
like on your left, yeah,
over here to the other room and stuff. But at that point, I wanted to combine the two, Pilates and massage and all of that and everything.
Right.
And so, but the little lessons from that, I took all of that, you know, and said, well, I'm going to make sure I keep that in mind. But I mean, I'm still just now learning how to be a good business owner. I'm still learning how to be a good instructor. But when I left the club that I was at, I knew it was time. I mean, doors only open when they're ready. You can try to open the door, but if it's locked and it's not open, you can't do anything but sit and wait. And so one of my clients actually had a place, and he had heard me for years saying, I just need a spot. I need somebody to just give me an opportunity. And he gave me that opportunity. And so when I moved equipment in, I had already in my mind as equipment manager for 6 years in the league. I think like this. I'm so OC, right?
Yeah.
I knew where everything was going to fit, all of that and stuff. So the only thing at that point is like what you're doing. Sometimes when you lack resources, you have to go out and ask for help. And so I started asking people in the industry, like Cheryl Mayer, one of my closest friends. She's a very business-minded person. And she gave me a lot of information. So I thought about that. But it wasn't so much about me thinking about, at this point, as a Black man or just a male. It was that time to shine and show people that I care and I'm here to help in your community. And so that we spent that first 5 months just letting people know I'm here. And then unfortunately, that's when the pandemic started, and that was a death blow because I had put all my life savings into it and all my energy, and that was it. And so they're being told that you have to stay home, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, you know. And so, but even in that, like I said, we've had 4 or 3 months now to think about where we're gonna head. Unfortunately, like I said at the beginning, our world flipped itself upside down, and I feel bad. I hurt, man. Especially as I'm seeing all these things on the news, because I can relate personally to some of those things that have happened to me. And I tell people it's hard for you to separate what you do and who you are. You're all the same. You're gonna take what you are and the experiences into your job. It's just how much do you want to project to your client or whoever you're around and stuff. And so anyways, that's a long way to answer your question about
the consideration. And like you said, like I love you mentioned Cheryl. just want to shout out to some people who are on this comment section here. I see Uni, Mind Body Miller, Black Man Do Pilates, Brooke Seiler's on here, Noam. I have some really, really special people in my world that I've connected with through his time. Like Brooke has been a blessing to me as well, just as a voice. I've been bouncing stuff off her, and she's been a real encouragement to me. Kevin, you'll appreciate this story. She was a guest a few weeks back, and just before we went on to air, she said, a few days before, she's like, I watched you on one of your videos on your workouts. I noticed your back's a little bit tight right here. Do you mind if we just do a quick workout, maybe even just a half hour, just a Zoom or whatever before we do our core conversation? This special person took some time out to just do a quick workout with me, just to correct just one thing that she saw. And my back has been amazing since then, because I've been applying it in my own workouts and stuff. And I just want to say that, we're talking so much about Black empowerment and activism and all these different things. And much like Cheryl, someone who's been a voice of wisdom and just business acumen to you, Brooke has been just a real encouragement to me, lifting us up. There's people that are lifting us up, that are kind of propping us up in certain ways that us as Black men, we need that. And, and you feel like, okay, well, I'm just going to lean on my Black brothers to get that strength. But no, like, that strength comes from people who have a good heart, who are really just reaching out and making sure that human beings want to succeed.
Right. It is funny that you mentioned that name. I'm like, I know that name. I follow her from a distance. I mean, the industry, who's in the industry, and when those names come up, you're like, oh, I know her. She might not know me, but I know her, But I mean, yes, I feel what you're saying. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like, it's just refreshing to see people who love people reaching out, just connecting with people.
Right.
Regardless of if they're on the first page in that Marvel superhero encyclopedia, or if they're on page, 203. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah. Well, we definitely, as we're doing all this talking, I have to give a quick shout out to our sister, SONJA Hebert, right now, because I'm telling you. So as far as superheroes, she's with Black Girl Pilates and what is it, Commando Fitness Collective. Yes. She's another one when you guys came out, and right now, the voice that most people are turning to get educated about what's going on and representation. She's that, and it makes me all the more proud to say that I'm glad that you guys call me family. And so yeah.
She's a voice. She really is a strong voice in this season. And yes, definitely shout out to SONJA. And we can go on about how awesome she is as well.
Yeah.
We were talking before earlier today. We were just having a quick conversation, and you were just sharing about your reflections from the George Floyd incident and the murder and stuff, and just how it resonated with you. Can you just share a little bit about your story and how that connected for you?
Yeah. The day that I had heard about George Floyd, I saw the news that was on the news and everything that was going on, and it didn't quite register. But finally, I sat down and I looked at the broadcast and what had happened, that he had died at the hands of a police officer. And when I heard that news and I saw it myself, and like I said, I'm trying not to get emotional, but I literally cried for a whole hour. As a Black man and as a man, I should say, you put a lot of things inside that you don't talk about, some experiences that happened to you. And I never told a lot of people that when I worked in San Jose, California, I had got pulled over for a minor traffic violation. I was headed to a spinning class. I got out of one work and was going to another, and I made a quick left. And the cop, I had my blinker on, and the cop, he pulls out without a blinker. And all of a sudden, he waves me on, and he says, well, I wave on, and he gets behind me, turns the sirens on, and he comes up, and I said, can I help you, officer? He was like, you could have killed me. You didn't even put your blinker on. Right away, it was this accusatory thing. And I said, officer, I had plenty of time. I'm debating or what have you. And I says, hey, listen, I'm sorry. I mean, if I deserving of a ticket, I'll take a ticket. But unfortunately, he didn't take it there. He didn't leave it at that. He didn't believe anything I said. And next thing you know, there's 3 other cop cars surrounding me. They put me out the car, told me to get on the curb. And for the next 25 minutes, they shamed me. And when I saw the George Floyd thing went down, those memories came back. And in that, the worst part about that thing is these cops were young guys, right? Yes. And there was a black cop there as well, a brother. And when they were at the height of, of drugs and telling me all the things that I knew weren't part of my life, I looked at the brother, the black guy, and I said, I looked at him like I'm looking at you, and I'm like, help, brother, help. And he saw the tear, I saw his anguish, and he bowed his head now because he couldn't do nothing. I realized at that time that they shamed me and him if we had to be put in our place. And like I said, I don't want to bring all this, like I'm just speaking from the heart, but when I saw the George Floyd thing, I felt guilty because I was like, well, if I could have said more, I did. I tried to stand up, but nobody believed me back then. I mean, even when I went back to my work and told them what had happened, it was like, well, get over it, right? So I can see right now, as I've been, like I told you, I've looked at my Facebook page and I've seen guys I've grown up with, and I realized the majority of them have gone through the same thing. It's just that they don't speak out. And then all of a sudden this happens. It was like a powder keg. And that's why the world is seeing what it is to sequester all of this pain. He was like, well, we're not trying to be violent. I don't believe in the riots and all of that stuff. What I'm saying is we would like you to listen. We try to tell you to listen, but now it's coming out in all kinds of forms. And so, yes. But anyways, man, like I said, I smile a lot, as you know. I put down on one of my blogs, I hide behind my smile. But when I put on one of my pages, I says, if you don't stand now for something, when will you stand? And so, like I said, with the George Floyd thing, I feel guilty a little bit because if I'd have spoke up a little bit more like these young people are doing now, maybe he would still be alive. And I can't put all that burden on my shoulders, but looking at you, like I said, I'm ready to go to battle. I'm like, no, I'm there for this brother here. Now, there's no longer sitting back and stuff. So when you call me, I'm like, nah, I'm here, man. What do you need? Yeah. So anyway.
Man, we need that's fine, man. Like we need that moment in the cave too, right? Like we need those moments to collect ourselves, to gather our thoughts, to get our strength. My wife calls it cocooning when I just I pull away for a minute just to find my words, right? And she's learned, over the years that there's times when I just need to be by myself, and there's times when I may pull her into that cocoon with me for a second, and then I go back out into the world with strength.
Right.
And you've had your season, man. You've had your season of cocooning, and dude, I chased you too. I'd be like messaging you, calling you, hey, thinking about you, man, praying for you. I got you. How you doing?
Yeah.
Silence. There's silence on the other side.
I have to apologize for that, man, because I could feel that from the other side, because Ed had reached out and a couple of people like, what's going on? But in moments, this COVID thing, it affected the whole world. And a lot of people didn't know how to react or how to interpret it, So a lot of people just got silent. As a matter of fact, my clients were so fearful with this. It's like, they were like, we are never coming back, or we won't come back until this is over. So I'm like, well, my business relies on the confidence that you feel confident that you can leave your house to come back. And granted, that you came out I had already had the idea of starting to do Zoom sessions and things like that before this all happened. But I couldn't get into my studio at that point. We actually had COVID police here. I mean, if you were out, I went to my studio and I'm like, what is this cop doing here? And I'm like, people are calling saying you're out. I'm like, okay, I guess I can't go to work now, And so all of these things affect you and, and your business and how you're going to perceive how to proceed. So anyways, me not calling, man, don't hold it against me, brother. I'm here now. That's all that matters. I think we don't do enough as a community to uplift. I mean, there's a saying that used to say that I can talk about my brother or sister, but you can't. And I think that people are seeing this right now. They don't know how to, they're like, why are you so adamant in defending this guy that you just saw with all of his history? Regardless of that, family's family. But you're like, hey, listen, I've been there. I can relate. And so I can speak out on that and stuff. And I'm not trying to tell you not to, but as you're listening, hear the stories and hear how we got to this. And if you want to be a part of the solution, it always starts with the heart.
It does.
Right?
It really does. And, you know, and even just like man to man, the fact that I continue to chase you, I just want to say to those who are out there, if you have loved ones, people that are around you that have just ghosted you, have just dropped off the earth, keep chasing after them. People appreciate it. Yeah. They appreciate you just loving on them and just being available to them, being able to say, hey, I'm here. When you're ready, hit me up. When you're ready, call me. And that's all they need. I know that the times I've been in some dark places where I've been just running from people, that I just took a mental note of the people that were still reaching out to me just to come back. Because I know that the people that love me will be there and will accept my apology for not responding for 6 months, 6 weeks, whatever the case is. So keep chasing down your loved ones, keep cheering on your people that, like Kevin, may have been in this dire straits of just like, what am I going to do with my business? And there really is no playbook for dealing with this pandemic. And then this racism, everything coming up. It's just like my son said the other day, like he's like, it's almost like COVID-19 is a side villain for racism right now.
Oh my gosh. Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because like one thing's happening and just another villain comes out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
When is it going to end?
When is it going to end?
Yeah. But no, you bring up a good point, because I think when the whole world is put into that situation where they're shut in and then nobody's calling, nobody's checking in, I think we just lost our bearings. And like I said, I mean, I kind of got caught up into that too. You know, I'm like, woe is me, the world is ending. But again, I mean, man to man, I think at that point you came out of athletics and you know that when there's 4th and 1, right, you got to dig down. You got to find out at that point what you're made of. And I mean, I says my resolve has been questioned, but I'm questioning it. And so, you know, people are asking what's going on. And at that point, I'm like, well, Kevin, you can't sit and smile anymore. You got to let people see that, yeah, you're hurting and that you're going to probably need a little extra help. And that's also too, learning how to say, as a man, I'm not ashamed to reach out to my family and friends and say, listen, I didn't qualify for a loan. I didn't get a grant. I didn't get unemployment. I mean, it was like, I'm like, what I do? But then that's where family comes in, and they did. They came in and said, hey, look, until we get out of this, we're just going to share like we do, right? If I got $5, $2.50 for you, $2.50 for me.
Yes.
So, but anyways, I know we want to talk about Pilates and everything.
Yeah.
But,
Pilates, right?
Oh yeah, Pilates.
Right.
The rest of the world can, let's just leave that.
It's a language, man. Like, and I say that, like, this is one of those things that we have. This is our leverage. This is our language that we can speak as well, right? And you know, I love, like, when we came down and you brought some people in, some of the guys that you're working with, some of your athletes, your women, like doing the class that SONJA and I like co-taught on that class. That was so fun, man. It was so fun.
And you know, one of the things I remember about that, while everybody's listening, I'm not trying to embarrass you guys, but I'm going to tell you something that's so special about having, when you have a room full of Black people that now you find out that they're Pilates instructors and they know what they know and why they know what they know. But I remember when SONJA had her camera on, right? And Nikki was teaching, and Nikki went right into her professional mode.
Yes, right? So she put on her like performance, right?
Yeah, and then the camera went off, and we all went back to like, "Yo, what up, dog?" You know, and all that stuff. And I'm laughing, and I said, "Wow, this is crazy." But it was like we had known one another for a while, and there was so much energy that weekend. But I mean, too, then when Brenda came in, and then Cheryl Mayer from Pilates Method came in. You got all this room full of people who are just maybe they acquaintances, right? But and then you got this guy who's opening up a Pilates studio who's just saying, "Come help, You know, and
Yeah.
thank you for being here. As a matter of fact, I spent the whole weekend, tell you the truth, trying to impress. I go, man, I hope they don't come here and see that I bought this reformer from Costco. I better go get I better go get something nice. I mean, I'm sitting here literally, right? I better figure out how to get, like, you know, some snacks and all of that and everything.
I'm just like, man, do you want me to vacuum? Like, where can I help? Like,
no, right?
I don't
and
care.
I was like, no, you don't need a vacuum.
Man, I'm business, man. Like, this is like that's what we're here for. I'm here to grind. Like, I was telling, like, you're like, oh no, here, listen. I'm like, no, I'm here to work, man. If you have stuff at your house, you can move over. I'll do it. You want to hang a picture? I'm here to hang a picture for you.
No, my clients will never forget that. It was because, again, I didn't know that there was other teachers out there. I had learned a certain system, a certain way of teaching Pilates.
Yes.
And so again, you guys had different voices and different perspectives, and yet it was still the same method. And so my clients were like, oh my gosh, Kevin, there's a whole different world out there other than you. As a matter of fact, I got 2 clients right now who they call you, of course, one of them, we call you Adonis. And he's like, hey man, that young man that was sitting there all like, you know, all prim and proper and stuff and shredded beyond recognition, when is he coming back? I'm like, he's here right now. Just close your eyes. That's me.
I like to celebrate differences instead of highlight them in a way that they. What would you say were some of the differences in the ways that we presented our Pilates? SONJA and then myself, and then what you learned. Like, what would you say are some of the experiences that were different?
Well, in starting with you, I mean, I know we were at a workshop and you had taken a, not only workshop, you had got some tutelage under Chris Robinson. And I had only heard things about him, but the way you presented it from an athletic standpoint, I love the fact that you like working with athletes. And that was my bent because, I mean, I didn't come as a dancer, you know. As a matter of fact, when I showed up to level 2 with SONJA, she was like, Kevin, she was like, now I'm not, you know, we say hating on you or anything like that. She goes, you came in Pilates a little late and, you know, you got some issues to work on, but if you just remember this, if you learn this method, you're going to be a good teacher. And what she was basically saying, I might not be able to demonstrate it and do a back bend like you, but you'll be able to teach it, right? And so, but she says you'll find your own voice, and your voice, that was unique that weekend, and it was special to me. And then, like, of course, SONJA, if you meet SONJA, you know she's very raw, right? She tell it right, pull it from the hip, tell you just like it is. And that reminded me of my sister. But my clients hadn't had a perspective like that either, with someone who would be able to, at one hand, tell you how it is, but at the other hand, show you that they love you and that they care. And that mixture right there, again, I'm getting all moistened by it. I'm like, that right there was like amazing to me. And so, of course, I wish Ed was there that weekend. But I mean, he couldn't make it. But I knew that he would have added something special to that weekend. And of course, you met, you know, you had Brenda on and you've met Cheryl. And the 2 of them have already, like you said, they've already had years of experience where I haven't had in Pilates. And when we had that, I probably have to say just the uniqueness of the different voices, the different backgrounds, the experiences. You do it well. And when I say do it well, as far as a sponge, when I watched some of your past episodes and the questions that you asked, people they're giving up all this information and knowledge. And if you're a student, and you're listening, you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't have to pay for a workshop. I just went to Martin's show and I got that for free.
Exactly.
But a different perspective, you know, and it was like, you won't get that unless you are just right there. You know, you can't read it in a book. So, but anyways.
Man, and the way that you teach, like, I love just watching you teach as well with like your young athletes and with that group, like people, they're just hanging off your every word. Like we talk about Nikki with the presentation and with the performance, you as well. Like you bring it with just such good energy that people just want to do. Like you see them, okay, what's next? Okay, what's next? Okay, what's next? Like they want to see what's next. They want to hear what's next. They want to catch those verbal cues, like just really, really sharp. So you're doing some great work. You really, really are. And walking into your studio and hearing how much vision you had and how innovative you were thinking, like if you go into his studio, there's a TV on the wall with the exercise order coming up next, vision of the online classes, and be able to just patch people in and be able to patch in the guest teachers and like Zoom classes.
Right.
Before, like, he was leading edge. Like, and now that we're in this pandemic, you see everyone and their cousin has a Zoom class. He was thinking about this before it was on vogue.
Right, man. Right.
You know, so now that we're in this space, it's easy to be like, okay, everyone has one, so let me find the next angle. Or to recognize the fact that you still have it within you. Like, you still have your captive audience, and there's people who are still waiting to hear what you have to say.
Right.
And just run with it, launch it, like, blow it up now. Like, you know that I'll be there cheering you on. You know that everyone who's watching this here will be cheering you on with their online presence. It was like, he started it. Like, he had an idea to do this long before pandemic and COVID-19 said that this is our only option. That was his idea to do with his space, and to make that small space bigger by opening up for the world to come to him. And dude, I want to see it happen. I want to see you doing it well, because I know that you can.
Yeah, it's going. You know, like it says. I mean, I've got past the point, like the pity party. Right now, Michigan is probably the only state that's, our stay home just got over 3 days ago, and then yet at the same time, they've chosen to make health and fitness non-essential, and so we can't go back in. There's word that we can't open up until July 4th. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I was like, that would be 4 months. You know, again, I'm not here to make a pity party or anything. It's that these things are out of my control. So what can I do in the meantime? And so that's why I had told myself, I might as well make a presence on Instagram. And at the same time, man, I said, if I get over this COVID and I'm not in shape, I'm going to be mad at myself, man. So I have been my own client for like the last 3 months. I fired myself probably about 5 times. I told myself, I don't ever want to see you as a Pilates instructor again. You so mean. So, but yeah, no, we're just waiting. I'm just waiting at this point for COVID-19, for her to just, the executive order to just let us get back in. And then again, at that point, I would love to circle the wagons. I mean, I'm looking in your beautiful studio right now. As a matter of fact, I'm like, move over a little bit so I can see if I can take that amount of space and I can get a light like that. I want pictures on the wall, all of that. But this is how you learn. I'm so happy that people in the industry aren't so guarded and protective of their territory that they're willing to put themselves out there. And again, if you're a willing student and you're always learning, you can learn even from just watching. I mean, what was this morning? I can't remember her name. But anyway, she was doing the star on the Reformer. Now, granted, I'm not even at that yet. But at the same time, she broke it down. And I was like, oh, my gosh. I learned more in this 1 minute than I would have got out of the book, you know. And so when I say circle of wagons, I would love it that we could have a Zoom session with everybody, these studio owners, and everybody just kind of chiming in and just saying, hey, listen, you know, we are this one big family now and everything. And this, look, with COVID, out of COVID and out of the depths of this police brutality, we all became family. And we decided that, hey, we were going to stand above the fold, and we weren't going to let us let what's going on pull us down. Right. So anyways,
that's, you know, and that's what we were saying earlier, even with your story of your police shaming and, you know, all these different things. The word that came to me right off the bat was dignity. And what these people are trying to do, when I say these people, police and people who have this sense of just systemic racism, what they're trying to do is take away our dignity. And when we reclaim that, we refuse to let them take that from us. We walk with our head held high. We walk with that confidence that we can open a business and it will prosper. We walk with a sense that I can reach out to people and they will help us, and that we are rich because of our collective resources.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And we're not defined by one experience, by one person in our past. Right.
There you go, coaching. That sounds like all my coaches that ever told me that, man. I mean, my biggest coach was my mom, who said the same thing. I mean, my life, like I said, has been a projectile. And it had my rough moments, but one of the things she told me, she said, Kevin, life has many things to offer a young man of your caliber. You too, right? But she says, look, even when it's hard, life has life. if life is loved. But you have to examine your heart. And she goes, people are willing to help, right? If you give a little, they'll give a little. And I think that's what we're saying right now, you know, with the police brutality. I mean, the young people that are now in charge of some of these precincts and things, they learned it from somebody else. And of course, that they need to hear that, listen, if your heart is black, you're not going to be able to do your job properly because you're going to be using that in a way that is not going to be fruitful to society. And then, of course, it's the degradation of society. And you can see now there's a divide. And so I love the word you just said, collective. We can't do life by ourselves. And that's why I'm saying life has life if life is loved. But you also got to know that you can't live life by yourself. It's a big world out there. And if you would, a big table, right? And if you have 3 seats and I'm standing, if you would just give up 1 seat and not care who looks like you, talks like you, we all can be eating. We can all be sitting at that table. And so that's what Pilates is to me. One big table, everybody sitting back and we all just enjoying one another. So
yes, agreed. Man, Kev, I haven't even looked at the time. I have no clue what time it is. I've just been
you know, I got to give you, man. I think it's like, what, 10:50?
If you guys have any other comments or questions for Kevin or I, please put in the comment section. I see Alex, my wife, is on here. Noam is
hey, Noam,
on here.
I don't even know Noam, but I mean, we dialogued on Instagram, but I know he was on your show.
He is for real. I don't know anything other like higher compliment for another man out there than to say they're for real. Like they are just authentic, kind,
you can
funny,
get that from his post. You can tell that.
Man, yeah. He's a good guy. So much love to know him. He's a good guy. Really, really good guy. And who else is out there? Bridge Pilates, hello. There's some of your people on here as well. I saw people saying Teek's my boy. I saw that earlier.
I think I saw one of those comments. I love the fact that when you sent me those posts there, I put them on real quick. Join in, man. You're gonna hear a lot here. You might see a couple of tears.
Yeah. Yes, you do. All right, guys. So thank you, Kevin. I just wanted to say once again, I appreciate all that you're doing. As always, cheer for you. And guys, keep looking out for Pilates Dwell's posts. He does the most amazing, like, animated posts and like whatever you got going on from a business perspective, put it out there. You know that people are gonna jump on and cheer for you. So, good. Thank you so much.
Listen, brother, and like I said in the very beginning, I want you to know this. And listen, Kevin Lartigue wasn't ghosting you, man. I was more in my own world. But for all those who are listening, just know that this brother here, I love him. I'm proud of him. Congratulations on what you're doing, man. We expect big things from you as a trailblazer. Keep doing what you're doing, man. And like I said, I'm here now. And so thanks for having me on, man. And let's stay in touch, okay?
Absolutely. I'm going to sign you off, and I will say one final goodbye to everyone. Thanks so much, Kev.
All right.
Thank you so much for joining us today on Core Conversations. This organic platform has been made possible by amazing people like yourself. So if you're a Pilates instructor or a movement specialist of some kind and you want to be a guest, please message me. If you're in some other field and the messages just resonate with you, message me. I'd love to have you on. All of our messages connect, and for some reason, they all help us in this battle. We're all in this game together, so I'd love to hear from you. Let your words be life to someone else. Check out our website, personalvictory.ca. Click the Core Conversations page to see who our upcoming guests are, and I will see you next time on Core Conversations.